Welcome to Tonomi's Person-Centered Care Education Program. Thank you for watching this session on the ABCs of providing person-centered care. This training is funded by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services and is titled Tonomi, a method to enhance person-centered care. We want to build on what you already know about person-centered care and provide you with some real-world applications based on experiences you may encounter in your home. You should have already completed a Person-Centered Assessment Tool, or PCAT. This is required by CMS for the project so we may establish and evaluate quality of care outcomes at the end of the program. Person-centered care is a model of healthcare delivery that differs from traditional care in that it is focused on the disease and performing a task. Person-centered care emphasizes holistic practice with a focus on ensuring that the healthcare decisions respect the perspectives, needs, values, priorities, and life history of the resident. Sometimes we tend to only see residents primarily for their illness, rather than as unique individuals who require constant care and support. When the nursing home resident is separated from family and friends, pets and community, they may feel that their personhood is gradually being lost. Our job is to remind them, ourselves, and others that they are still here. We need to see, hear, and understand the person and not just the patient. Person-centered care takes a team. It is a way of thinking and doing things that sees the resident, their family, and staff as equal partners in planning, developing, and monitoring care to make sure the resident's needs are met. This means putting each resident and their families at the center of decisions and seeing them as experts on the needs of the resident so they may work with you and get the best outcomes. In the past, residents were expected to fit in with the routines and practices that the care team felt were most appropriate. But in order to be person-centered, services need to change and become more flexible. This involves working with the resident and their families to find the best way to provide their care. The underlying philosophy is about doing things with the resident rather than to them. Some key features of person-centered care include respecting residents' values and putting them at the center of care, taking into account the residents' preferences and needs, coordinating care, making sure residents are physically comfortable and safe, providing emotional support, involving family and friends, and making sure residents have access to appropriate care when they need it. We should practice person-centered care because putting the resident at the center of care will make them feel more satisfied, will encourage them to lead a healthier lifestyle, will encourage them to be more involved in decisions about their care, and will improve health outcomes such as blood pressure, falls, depression, and anxiety. And just as importantly, it will improve how confident and satisfied staff feel about the care provided, which in turn reduces staff stress and anxiety. Person-centered care practices are required by CMS and the Department of Health and Human Services because they improve clinical outcomes and satisfaction for the resident and the family. As an added bonus, applying person-centered care principles can even improve outcomes for you. A person-centered care culture makes work much more fulfilling. It's so much easier to deal with people when you understand who they are and why they do the things they do. Yes, Uncle Joe can be a pain sometimes, but he has been grumpy ever since he retired. There are reasons behind every action and a reaction people make. So let's introduce the simple ABCs of person-centered care. A is for attitude, to develop an attitude and understanding that they are a person and not just a patient. B for biography, to gather a detailed description of the person's life story. And C, to connect. We must build better relationships between the resident, family, and you. Despite their medical condition, each resident is a unique individual on a journey that requires our patience and understanding. Your attitude of understanding of who the resident is as a person and not just a patient can be the key to providing the kind of care we would want for ourselves. This golden rule cannot be overstated. Treat all the residents like you would like to be treated. You may need care or even be a resident yourself someday. This golden rule means you should have a positive attitude in your communications, approaches, and interactions with residents. Projecting a positive attitude is simple when you treat them like family, with compassion, love, and respect. An attitude of positivity includes communications. Words matter. Being person-centered means to use positive communications, approaches, and interventions with every resident. You already know that words do matter to anyone that you speak with, and this is especially important with your residents. We all know to never use words like diaper, feeder, or negative behaviors. We know to use positive words instead, like Brees, needs dining assistance, and expressing a need. Positive words make a positive place to live and work. Positivity is infectious, and unlike COVID, this is one infection we want to spread. Negative words like behaviors, non-compliant, acting out, delusional, or being difficult don't tell the person's story. They are likely trying to communicate something and can't make you understand. Imagine how frustrating that would be. Never forget, the person you are caring for has feelings just like you. They are trying to tell you something. They just can't express it in words. Understand that the person may be expressing themselves the only way they can. They are expressing an unmet need, not exhibiting behaviors or being non-compliant. Think about an infant crying when they are hungry or in need of consoling. Your attitude should be, what are they trying to tell me? What is the unmet need that is causing this response and anxiety? Just as importantly, don't automatically believe that expressions of unmet needs require medication or redirection. That response only masks the real problem. Pills and redirection are temporary measures, not cures. They don't fix the problem nor meet the need, so the expression will reoccur again and again. There are much better options that we will discuss a bit later. B is for biography. Know their life story. We can't provide person-centered care if we don't understand who the person is, their biography, life story, and history. The normal approach to understanding someone's history is through the admissions process. It's a good start, but we need to go further and gather a more comprehensive history assessment to get a thorough understanding of the resident as a person. One's identity as a person is defined by their life story, their occupation, culture, beliefs, spirituality, and relationships with family, friends, and community. As we learn a person's history, collecting the stories that define them, we are better able to understand and care for them. Take the time to learn their life story. Discover what makes them happy or upset. Respect them as a person. Build trust and communicate with them in a way that works best for them. Get to know the whole person, their history, lifestyle, likes, and dislikes. Everyone has a story to share. This is the key to person-centered care. To know that Mr. Jones was a pilot for United. To know Mrs. Smith was a wonderful homemaker, mother, and nurse, raising 4 children on her own after her husband passed away. To know that Miss Brown was born in Miami and her favorite pet was a dog named Milo. See them as you would a relative you know. Understand they have needs and desires just like you. Understanding who they are helps you figure out what they are trying to say when they cannot communicate those needs as easily as they once did. So, how do we learn who the person is? That's what this program answers. We learn their biography by using life story photo books. A life story photo book tells us who the person really is, illustrates their life accomplishments, desires, dreams, needs, and concerns. Sharing their life stories helps to identify their specific person-centered care needs so you can empathize and support them. C is for connectedness, to form a trusting relationship. In nursing homes, the world becomes disconnected and the past and present can often lose meaning. This makes it difficult to focus on conversations or activity and often leads to withdrawal. We must find ways to connect with them so they can express themselves. For someone living with cognitive decline, the connections to their memory fades, so they at times dwell in a long-term memory, the past, and not the present. Don't bring them into the present, but instead make the reality they are in the present. And just like it sounds, use their perception of the present as a gift and validate it. That memory is very special to them. If they are expressing a fond memory, go there with them. Ask them questions about the time and experience. If they speak about a long-lost relative as if they were still around, ask what is so special about that person. Use their life history to trigger positive memories. There are also those residents that have an uncanny ability to focus on the present, maybe because the past or even the future is less clear for them. Meaningful connections for them are best made when we can simply be with them, remaining fully mindful and in the moment. Engage the resident in conversations that are meaningful to them. Remember to go slow. Wait for a response, as it may take time for them to find a way to answer. What is commonly seen as confused or even challenging behaviors, in actuality, may be expressions they use to communicate or resolve an unmet need, issue, or conflict. They are trying to communicate. You just need to see with new eyes and a positive attitude. Our challenge is to consider actions and reactions as a form of communication of an unmet need. Take the time to assess what the person is trying to communicate. We must also connect with families too. Families want you to know the same person they love, the person, not just the patient. This program helps the family tell us who their loved one is as a person by creating and sharing a life story photo book with you, their care partner. It sounds simple, but the reality is that we can't provide person-centered care if we don't collect and actually use information of who the person is. CMS and the Department of Health want nursing homes to find practical ways to promote a PCC culture that enhance staff skills and help develop care plans based on who the resident is as a person. We help the residents and their families create and publish a free life story photo book to share with you so you can support them with compassion and understanding. Families will benefit from reminiscing and celebrating their loved one while creating the book. Not only will they enjoy the positive memories of the past, they will feel assured that you will use the book to know their loved one and care for them as they do. A life story photo book helps the family to be involved in care planning and provides a bridge to building a better understanding and relationship between them, the resident, and you. Unlike a life history form that is often kept filed away, our life story photo books have large, full-color photographs and text detailing the positive memories that can be shown to a resident to provide an immediate visual and tactile sensory stimulation should they be anxious or in need of an activity or a personal interaction with a staff member. So I have 3 simple examples of how knowing a resident's life story can affect care. First, we have resident George. He would wander the halls late at night, trying to open doors of the other residents' rooms. The staff were fearful it was possible he may attempt to assault other residents, so powerful medications were prescribed. These meds put him in a stupor every night and changed his quality of life. Eventually, some of George's relatives came to visit him. His nighttime wandering were mentioned to them, and they informed us that he had been a security guard for most of his adult life and had rarely gone to bed before 4 a.m. for decades. Given his life story, we understood that George was just checking the locks of the buildings he was assigned to protect. With this knowledge, the staff stopped trying to put him to bed in the early evening and let him stay up until the night shift. They even asked him to walk the halls with the staff members so they could check the rooms together. His demeanor improved, and he resumed a lifelong habit of late to bed and late to rise. We were able to give him a set of obsolete keys, a badge, a logbook, and a flashlight to carry during his shift. He was so proud and happy to be at work each night. There was no need for medications or redirection. The powerful antipsychotic meds were reduced, then eliminated entirely, which vastly improved his quality of life and reduced the anxiety and stress of the staff. Next, we had resident Walter, who was frequently found on the floor next to his bed, and then Sarah, who exhibited anxiety and exit-seeking behaviors nearly every afternoon. When the life stories of these particular residents were reviewed, it was clear the reasons behind their actions. They were just expressing an unmet need. We discovered that Walter was formerly an automobile mechanic, and so it was likely that he was simply getting down on the floor so he could get under his car, actually the bed, to repair it. Sarah was an elementary school teacher for 30 years, so perhaps she was getting her students ready to go home, a very anxious time for her. Knowing this information provided a foundation to develop person-centered care plans with meaningful interventions that met the needs of each without medications nor anxiety-causing attempts at redirection. Knowledge of the life story can help you better manage difficult care situations. For instance, Walter got plastic tools, car magazines, and was even able to help the maintenance crew fix other cars or beds. Sarah got books, a chalkboard, and even taught other residents math. Using life story books improve the quality of interactions. You may learn to appreciate how the resident was a husband, a father, a wife, or a mother, a nurse, or a mechanic. The more insight you gain in seeing the person, the more empowered you will feel to provide relationship-centered care rather than task-oriented care. Applying what you have learned here begins your journey to enhance the culture of care for people living in your nursing home. Yes, living. Your attitude and skills will make the difference. You can change the lives of the residents, the families, and the staff by what you do every day. We invite you to use your new eyes and open the door to discovery of the people you care for.